They are losers. The United Kingdom produces just 1/3 of the total energy from all sources that it did in 1999. Think of that, 1/3. And they're sitting on top of the North Sea, one of the greatest reserves anywhere in the world, but they don't use it. And that's one reason why their energy has reached catastrophically low levels with equally high prices. High prices, very low levels. Think of that, 1/3.
To the Ukraine question, I would like also to add that we have been supporting the heroic fight of the Ukrainian people for now 4 years. I think on our side, actions speak louder than words.
And we are not reacting every day to every kind of communication in social media. We have a clear vision about
on Arctic security. And this is why the threat of additional tariffs for security reasons is simply wrong. We now live in a world defined by raw power, whether economic or military, technological or geopolitical. And while many of us may not like it, we must deal with the world.
The most powerful phone call in modern European history lasted less than 12 minutes. Giorgia Meloni didn't ask Washington for help. She didn't beg for American support or plead for protection from Brussels bureaucrats. She offered Trump something that no European leader had ever put on the table before. A deal that would make Italy independent of the European Union without ever officially leaving it. A strategy so clear, so legally strong for 7 decades, the European Union operated on a single unspoken belief that the nations inside it needed it more than it needed them. That access to the single market, the flow of recovery funds, the protection of shared trade agreements, and the comfort of shared institutions was a cage that member states would never shake too hard on purpose. Brussels built its entire system of government on this belief. It designed its funding systems as leashes. It created its rules as loyalty tests. It built its foreign policy system as a wall that kept member states from looking for partners somewhere else. And for most of its history, the system worked not because European nations loved Brussels, but because they believed or were made to believe that there was no other choice. Giorgia Meloni just proved that belief was not true. The story begins not on February 3rd, 2026, the date the phone call happened, but months earlier in the quiet halls of the Palazzo Chigi, where Meloni's government had been working on a plan that Brussels never expected a major member state to seriously try. The plan was simple on the surface, but revolutionary in what it meant. What if Italy could have everything the EU offered, the market access, the trade protections, the basic membership benefits, while at the same time building a completely separate structure of power that worked outside Brussels' control completely? What if a nation could stay inside the house while changing all the locks? What if sovereignty didn't require the messy, economically painful drama of leaving? What if you could simply make the institution unimportant while pretending to remain committed to it? This was not a sudden idea, this was careful planning. Meloni's team had spent most of a year carefully mapping out exactly which areas of Italy's important interests were still legally under national control according to existing EU treaties. Energy purchasing, defense agreements with single countries, direct financial relationships with non-EU institutions, immigration enforcement cooperation with outside partners. Each one of these areas was a gap in Brussels' authority, a space where Rome could legally act without asking permission. And when you put all these gaps together, when you connected them into a single clear strategy, what appeared was not just a list of small policy changes. What appeared was a complete alternative operating system for Italian sovereignty, one that could work quietly alongside EU membership while slowly taking away from Brussels every real tool it had over Rome. The timing was not by chance. Donald Trump's return to the White House had completely changed the world situation in ways that Brussels tried hard to downplay and the rest of the world could not ignore. Trump came back not as a man trying to fix international institutions, he came back as a man ready to take apart the ones that had stood against him. The European Union, with its global system, its climate rules, its open border ideas, and its constant growth of power, was exactly the kind of structure that Trump had spent years calling an enemy of national sovereignty. And Trump didn't just bring anger toward Brussels, he brought resources, influence, and a strong desire for exactly the kind of one-on-one deal that Meloni was now ready to offer. Sources close to the Italian government described the months before the February phone call as a time of quiet but serious diplomatic preparation. Italian officials made carefully low-profile visits to Washington. Conversations happened at the edges of international meetings, in private dinners, or in encrypted messages that avoided normal diplomatic channels completely. Relationships were built, agreements were confirmed, and slowly, piece by piece, the outline of a deal that had never been tried in the history of post-war Europe began to take shape. By the time Meloni picked up the phone on February 3rd, she was not making a random call. She was finishing a negotiation that had already been won.